I think so. Most of you guys will agree on me on this fact that even for the most of the season, even I shitted on the season of OPM for most of the season. After like the first 3 episodes, most of the episodes were not that much of. They weren't living up to the expectations. That's what I'll say. But this episode, I'll give every point to it. It did a great job. I will ignore the CG just because it did a great job. That's why. I don't mind the CG if they do a great job with whole animation throughout this episode because this was. It felt like all the budget went into this episode. It literally felt like that, and I was like, okay, that was a good one. It still wasn't up to the point where I would say that this is Madhouse quality, but it still was good. It was good. That's what I'll say. It wasn't uh anything mediocre. What he got for the most of the season of One Punch Man. So it was like, okay, this was a pretty good episode all over. Now, just getting into the episode, I want to talk about Garo straight away because Garo, I already supported him. I was supporting him like since the last 2 episodes or something, and I wanted him to win. And this makes me like his backstory and everything, his origins and everything, why he wanted to become a monster and everything. It all makes me want to support him even more as a antagonist. He's a good antagonist. That's what I can say about Garo, and he's someone I personally could could say is a top tier antagonist if the anime did things right. Because even if the anime kind of screws around with stuff, because I do know there is some shit on manga that isn't like shown in the anime. They skipped a lot of stuff from the manga. I know that for the fact being because a friend of mine told me. So it's like, okay, I understand that. I understand the whole point of that, but still, even after all of that, I still like Garo, which means he's definitely a top tier antagonist in my eyes already. Because he's this is a pretty good antagonist for One Punch Man all over. Other than that, I also want to talk about Genos being Genos. So Genos was being reckless and everything, and it's all about his power because he basically doesn't understand the difference between him and Saitama, and it's just like it's a huge difference. And he's like, "Oh, what am I lacking?" And Saitama is like, "Power." Like, okay, but yeah, Genos all over. He's just way too reckless with his whole shit. It kind of reminds me of a lot of main characters because a lot of main characters. It's just not one or two, but a lot of main characters, especially. I'm not saying One Punch Man is a shonen, but shonen main characters, they are always reckless. Always, I've seen most of them being reckless, at least because the most of the shonens I have read, they are reckless, except for Food Wars because Food Wars is he's that character, the main character, Soma is pretty damn good. So, but yeah, for the most of shonen I've read, most of the characters are reckless, which kind of reminds me of Genos because Genos kind of reminds me of most of the shonen characters, if I put it correctly. But yeah, Genos in this episode again with all of his stuff, be reckless and everything, very much remind me of a shonen main protagonist. That's basically what I would say. Other than that, one of the coolest things that I saw in this final episode of the season is just King coming out of nowhere and bruh, this whole okay. Honestly, I was just waiting for Saitama to appear because I know it had to be Saitama who took down Senshoro, and I was like, alright, I'm waiting for Saitama to appear. I'm waiting for Saitama to appear. When finally, when he appears, he does not fail to deliver. And that's what makes him so damn good. I just love Saitama as a character, okay? I've said this a lot of times, I'll say it again. That Saitama is my favorite character in the series. Even though you got a lot of varieties of characters, Saitama is still my favorite character for this very reason. He's a bully who's calm and collected, who doesn't show emotions and makes you laugh at any time. And when he's serious, his serious punch hits you real. Just one punches everyone, basically, what I'm trying to say. But yeah, like, just him appearing out of nowhere, and like I was expecting that because King was all like, okay, yeah, it was very cliche and everything, but I don't care about it. They made this scene. I will give credits to this scene because they made it look cool. They made Saitama look cooler, and every kind of credit to that. I will put every kind of credit on that. I'll put my money on that. That was one of the coolest shit I've seen in this whole season of One Punch Man. Cause I was on the edge of the seat, even though I already knew, I knew this cliche was gonna come and Saitama was gonna go get Setichoro. I was like, okay, I know this coming, but yo, that was just loved it, freaking loved it. Uh, and then finally, the way they ended off is basically the after credits is basically showing Garo going to the Monster Association and everything. So basically now we're gonna see season 3, which I don't think so JC Staff would be the one to do. I think so one of the biggest things that JC Staff is bad at is just anime management, because they just take a lot of anime on their name, and I'm like, do you really need to do that? Like, you could just do 1 or 2 anime per season, right? Like you don't need to do like 4 to 5 animes every season. Like, just take this season, okay? The summer season. They have 2 anime, if I'm correct, and a movie coming out this season from JC's tab. That is Danmachi. There's certain something about accelerator. I don't remember what that is. A certain accelerator or something like that. And then there is Konosuba. Like, JC's tab is working on a lot of shit this season. I'm like, okay, now I understand why One Punch Man's graphics were so degraded. The animation was so degraded, and like, you just take so much on at this point. You just do so many anime at a single time, and you just don't have time to do other anime. And that's why it's like, okay, JC Staff need to look forward for what they do with their anime and shit. But anything, more or less. I'm looking for season 3, whichever studio it is that does it. Whereas JC Staff, or will they continue on with the season or anything? Don't care about that. As long as I get some good animation, because I do want to see an upgrade in animation, and I want to see a different, like, I wouldn't say art style or anything, but a huge difference in the animation from this season and season 3 at least. I at least want to see that. Whichever studio does it, again, I do believe that JC Staff will not do this anymore, because, jeez, after this season, I mean, it still had a lot of profit with the fan base and everything because of the huge fan base that One Punch Man has. But yeah, basically, I don't know, I don't know, whatever. Anyways, let me know what you think about the season. Let me know who was your favorite character this season for One Punch Man. Personally, I felt like this season was more of a Garo season for me, because Garo was just freaking amazing this season for One Punch Man, and I will give every credits for that. I will bow down to Garo for his greatness that he gave us throughout the season, because I freaking loved him throughout the whole season whenever he appeared. It was pretty good to see him. And finally, let me know what you think about this whole episode, because I personally thought this was the best episode of the season. Best episode of this season of One Punch Man. I'm not saying of the whole season, but of One Punch Man. So, not One Punch Man, whole One Punch Man, of this season of One Punch Man, before anybody misinterprets what I'm trying to say. Anyways, yeah. So I'll see you guys in the next videos. Always, peace.